I was asked about the color of clothing I was wearing by one of the junior high kids a couple weeks ago. And it should have been a simple answer, but it wasn't. I froze. The answer that I had made up in my own head was not enough. It didn't convey the complex feelings that were going on inside of me. So that junior higher that I had known since elementary school, I kind of blew off. So I had to wrestle with this and come up with an answer that satisfied myself and possibly others as why I wear one color, the color of mourning and sadness, to church every Sunday. It started simply as watching 81% of white evangelical Christians vote for Donald Trump. I was disheartened and depressed. How can people who say they obey the Holy Scriptures disregard that same holy book and vote for somebody who openly mocks the very same principles found within that book? So, on the Sunday after the election, I wore black. I didn't know how long I'd be wearing black on Sunday, and at one point in time I foolishly imagined that I would have hope and that I would wear a white flower on my lapel, telling everybody else that I have hope and that the world isn't as bad as you can imagine it to be. But it didn't take me long to realize that hope for the evangelical church is a foolish thing. Because as time went on, I saw prominent evangelical Christians like Jerry Falwell Jr. saying that evangelical Christians had found their dream president. Really? A man who openly defies the principles and behaviors established by Jesus and the apostles? I saw other evangelicals laying hands on the president without rebuking him for his sin that he's committed, like the Old Testament prophets or John the Baptist. And then the Southern Baptist, a very evangelical group of churches, had to be forced to vote against the racist alt-right movement. I then saw those from other Christian traditions standing up against the bigoted, hateful, racist remarks coming forth from those who follow the president. But I didn't see any from the evangelical church. Evangelical Christianity fails to stand up for the dignity, worth, and image of God found within all people of the earth. I've come to realize, sadly, that evangelical Christianity fails to provide any meaningful leadership on the state of affairs within our culture today. What I see as being communicated is that their relationship with God is more important than their relationship with the people around them, and that they cannot be bothered to speak up or speak out and put their bodies on the line for the issues that actually matter and where the Bible actually has things to say. So as I've walked my journey of faith, I've concluded that white evangelical Christians are in sin. It is a sin of omission, and it makes us complicit in the racism, in the bigotry, in the violence that is sweeping this nation today. So I wear black on Sunday as a sign of mourning, as a sign of sin, to say to everybody around me that, hey, this is not right. We as a church are not in the right. We are defying the very principles that God laid down in the Old Testament and the New Testament. We have to take a stand. We need to confess our sin. If evangelical Christianity does not want to be complicit in the sin, they need to stop and confess their sin. And the way I see this happening is we need to listen to other people. We need to listen to those from the African American church, those who have been the most affected by this racism, by this bigotry, by this hatred, and have them speak to us. They need to be the ones who tell us how we have wronged them. And then we need to confess that sin. We need to say we are sorry. We need to come under the judgment of them and the leadership of them, because we cannot do it. We have failed miserably. And as this is happening, there can be no talking back. There can be no equivocating, no quibbling, no saying, well, if you just understood what was going on in the time, or you don't really understand the context. There can be none of that. We must remain silent. And once this sin has been laid at our feet, we must act on it. We must say we're sorry. We must apologize, and we must change. So my wearing black on Sunday has changed from a reflection of my mood to an actual reflection of the sin that is going on right now in our country, and especially in the white evangelical church. I want to thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a good thumbs up. If you know of anybody who might be interested in watching this video, share it with them. And of course, as always, subscribe by clicking right there. Have a good week, and God bless.